All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of a demo of the uh, systems development unit, and I'm going to be specifically focused on a few things. I want to show you first the Gantt chart for the waterfall or SDLC method. So I've got an example here, but if you just Google Gantt chart, I'm telling you, you're going to find millions of examples from other people. Okay? I don't know anybody who goes and just creates a Gantt chart from scratch the first time they do a project. Everybody goes out and finds some template and then fills it in with the specific details for their project. Okay, so this particular example that I have up is related to some sort of on-site event, like a wedding or conference or something like that. Okay, and so they've broken it into different phases. Obviously, the software development process would be a little different. You've got the phases of the SDLC that we talked about previously. But the idea of a Gantt chart is to visually depict what's happening next, who's responsible, when it's due, and then chart the progress along the way. So some of you, well, I don't even know if they do this anymore, but when I was working in college, I worked at a Burger King, and I did the scheduling as one of the managers. And one of the things that I did was we had these things that looked like Gantt charts, but I didn't know what a Gantt chart was, but that's effectively what it was for scheduling. We would go out and we would specify how busy we would be from a sales perspective, and then we would kind of map out resources for different areas of the business, and then draw it out on a little Gantt chart like this. And the idea being now we could visually see where we had people, where we had gaps, what was being done, what was being done next, etc. So this is a Gantt chart, and there's lots of examples. Smartsheet's actually what I normally use for Gantt charts, but it's not free. So you might find free options out there that are better for your particular situation. Okay, so with Gantt charts, as I mentioned, you have the people assigned, the percentage complete. You can have percentages of people. And so you can get really granular. Another interesting thing that this example doesn't show is dependencies. So rather than me having to go and specify a date for each one of these tasks, I can specify a date for the first one, and then I can say that the subsequent tasks, say this one takes 1 day, this one takes 4 hours, etc. It will automatically build this Gantt chart on the right. Okay? It will also link things together if there are dependencies. So I can't sign a band, for example, until we've done all these other steps. So there's no point in me trying to specify a date and having to manually change it all the time. I just specify that the band contract signing can't happen until this happens. The negotiation happens. That can't happen until the review contract happens, etc. Okay, so I can build dependencies in here, which can be very helpful for building this out quickly. Okay, so project managers go and use this sort of thing. Now you can do Gantt charts in Excel. So it's kind of the poor person's project management software. It's extremely painful though. So if you do have the ability to do real project management software, it's a heck of a lot easier. So that's a Gantt chart. Now the second piece I want to talk about is Kanban boards and Agile. Okay, and so there are a variety of different tools that you can use. And so I've got a couple up on my screen here, and I'll kind of show you each of them real quickly. So I have Asana here. Now I actually use Asana. I don't use this particular account anymore, but I just use this for teaching. I actually have another account that has more features I can't show you. Okay? But this one gives you the picture. This is at a very basic level a Kanban board. Okay, and so you've got 3 columns at a very basic level. You've got your to-do list, you've got your doing list, and you've got your done list. Okay, and it's as simple as just dragging with your mouse, or if you're using an iPad or a phone, you just take your finger and you drag it over as you do things. Now, this may not work for some people, so you might have additional columns. So one example that I've used in the classroom is if you're working on a project with other people, you might, instead of have a doing column, you might have a Johnny column, a Sally column, a Susie column, okay? And that way you know who is working on what, okay? But to add things, you just say, whatever it is. So you pet the cat, okay? And then as I'm petting the cat, I can move this over. And when I'm finished petting the cat, I can move it over here. Okay? And we all know cats, they aren't ever done. So now we can move it back because a cat wants to be petted again. But we can go and we can create new columns as well. So we can go and, this is Johnny's column. Okay. So we can have these columns, and then we can drag them around to have the order correct for however we're doing things, right? So this is Asana, and this is what I use. And the reason why I use this one now, I used to use the other one I'm going to show you. But I really like the integration that this has. So for example, my Google Docs and my Google Mail. When someone sends me an email and I need to take action on it, but I don't have time to take action on it right now, all I do is I click a button in my Gmail and say add to Asana, and it drops it into the board for me, okay? And now I've got a to-do list that I can go through and move through the process, and I won't forget that I have that task to do. So I really like the integration points with other applications with Asana, okay? Now, prior to Asana, I use this other tool called ClickUp, and I have to say it is a prettier tool. Okay? I look at it, it's much prettier, okay? But same basic concept. I have these columns, I can do things. Now, I can also do things in a to-do list format, and I can also do things in a time format, so based on a calendar. So I can have due dates that are in a calendar. Now, I can also do integrations with Agile. I don't have this set up. So with Agile, I can set up sprints in this calendar, and I can do sprint-based development and manage my tasks that way. So I can do it this way. I can also do in my Kanban board, I can have sprint, basically a sprint, sprint column. Okay? So I can call this sprint to do. Okay? I can have one for sprint doing, sprint in progress. And then I can have a sprint done. And the advantage of doing this is now I can track what I'm doing in each sprint so I can report on it. So before I move it to close, I put everything into sprint done. And then at the end of the sprint in the retrospective, I count up how much we've done this week. Then when we're done, we move them all over to closed. We move a new batch of things into sprint to do. And then when we do our sprint plan meeting, we go and assign them to people as they work on it, okay? So we can do a lot of different things with Kanban boards. Again, this is not just for software development, okay? I had a guy who worked for me, and he used to use this for his family. He had a whole bunch of kids. Okay? And so he literally had a tablet on the refrigerator or something along those lines. And he had it all set up with sprint planning every week for their family duties. And he had a Kanban board and things like that. Now you can combine sprint and Kanban together for the sprint from Agile, and it becomes Scrumban. Sorry, I meant Scrum from Agile, sorry. It becomes Scrumban when you combine the two methodologies together. Now, if I were developing a piece of software and I were using an Agile Kanban method or Scrumban, okay, I would put all my work together here, specify all the details of the requirements, and each one of these would be a story. And as I work on it, it would move through the progress here, okay? So that's it.